Hey, what's happening? It's Eric J. Olson, and we are going live for another recording of the Journey to $100 Million podcast. So what we're doing here is we like to bring on entrepreneurs to talk about their journey and figure out, maybe if we can learn some lessons from them. Every single day we have a podcast where we talk about what we're learning here at Array Digital between myself and the other co-host, Kevin Daisy, who is the co-founder of Array Digital. But we can't make all the mistakes here. We have to share some of the experiences from other entrepreneurs and learn from them as well. So we bring them on, and what we're going to do is take short clips from this live session and turn them into an episode in the very near future. So today I have Wendy from Fort Lauderdale joining us. Hey, Wendy.
Hey, Eric.
How's it going today?
It's going great. It's Friday. It's beautiful. I'm getting to talk to you.
All bonuses, perks, right?
Yes.
What a job we have. So, well, hey, Wendy, I appreciate it. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Awesome. So thanks for having me. My name's Wendy Lieber. I'm the co-founder of ContentBacon. We are a digital content subscription service. So we help companies tell their story through tasty custom content, all in support of generating more awareness, more interest, and ultimately more customers.
Nice. Let's talk about that name a little bit.
Yes.
ContentBacon. Is that the very first name you came up with?
Well, it was part of a branding process. So my partner and I, we had different businesses as we were forming ContentBacon, and we would meet at a local brewery every Friday to kind of work on our plan. And we had just come up with a bunch of different names, as one does in the branding process, and narrowed them down. And for me, ContentBacon was always the clear winner, just because everyone loves bacon. Bacon makes everything better. And it's been probably the best decision that we made as a business, because everyone remembers it. It gets a little laugh, and and it does tell a micro story, which is the whole point of a good name.
I like it. I think it's great. As a matter of fact, let's bring in your website. Yes. Oops, did I click the wrong thing? Here we go. All right. So this is Wendy's website. And okay, so you have the whole theme here, right?
Oh yeah. Yes.
So that's great.
We call our office Porklandia. When we had an office, we're all virtual now, which we actually were before the pandemic. But yeah, we love the theme and just playing around with everything. It's a lot of fun.
I think it's great. You even have a little piggy right here that I can communicate with.
Yes.
That's funny.
See more bacon.
Well, cool. How did you get into content?
Yeah, so I had a company prior to ContentBacon called Athena Marketing, which was a strategic marketing agency. And basically I was looking for ways to grow in business, and agency route was not a route I wanted to go. And so in order to grow, I either had to work harder or, raise my prices, which I did both. And I just realized that the model that I had was not the model that I was going to be able to grow significantly, because I was up to playing a big game, and I wanted to be able, to build a business that I could scale. So I was in a program called Accelerator, which is part of the Theeo, entrepreneurs organization for companies that were looking to grow and scale. And I met my current business partner. And one thing I had realized with my previous company is every company that I was working with was struggling with content on a consistent basis. So I started dabbling in these very simple subscriptions and realized that there was a big appetite for it. And my partner had a branding company. And so he was in a similar situation where he also was looking to grow and scale. And so we thought that, this was an area that was going to really just continue to get more and more important. And so we joined forces in 2014 and officially launched ContentBacon in 2015. And for a little while, we did have our other companies. And then I think it was summer of 2015, late summer, we were like, this ContentBacon is the thing where we want to put all of our attention. And so I think by fall of that year, we were 100% solely focused on our baby, which is now a toddler.
A little piglet.
Yes.
All right. So I'm trying to work through the timeline here. Did you meet your current business partner at the Accelerator?
Correct. He was also a member of Accelerator, kind of struggling with the same thing. We worked on a couple projects together, and then started ContentBacon while we were in that program.
Cool. Let me explain for the audience about the Accelerator. So Wendy and I are both members of the Entrepreneurs Organization. In order to become members of EO, you have to be a founder or owner of a business that generates $1 million in revenue or more per year. If you're not at the $1 million level, but you're at least $250,000, then there's a program in EO for you called the EO Accelerator. And it's a 2-year, at least here in my chapter, it's a 2-year program. It's probably the same for you. And you could be in longer if you need to, but basically they'll get you up to $1 million. That's the idea.
Absolutely. Yeah. Perfect.
So, it's interesting. You and I, we share a very similar path through EO and even with our businesses. So I wasn't an accelerator, but before I became a member, I was what's called a strategic alliance partner, which I know you're familiar with, Wendy, but
yes,
I'll say the long form for the audience. We call them SAPs for short, but I was a strategic alliance partner, which is another variant of kind of like a member, but not a full-fledged member. And I met my current business partner it wasn't an accelerator event. It was a learning event, though. We were both attending a learning event for EO. He was also an SAP. And we both had businesses that we knew kind of lacked something. And we wanted to scale something much, much bigger. And we didn't really know how to do it on our own. We were kind of struggling. And EO kind of brought us together. So it sounds like you have a very similar story there.
I didn't know the partner piece. So that is very similar. We're like twinsies.
Well, it's like I've had partners in the past and it didn't really work out.
Same.
And so, before this current partnership, I was like, I'm not doing partnerships again. Right. I want to do it on my own, but it's tough on your own. I mean, did you see the same kind of, or have the same kind of experience?
Yeah, I had a couple, I think I had in my mind, like this magical thinking about partnerships. And, I wanted someone to collaborate with, someone to brainstorm with, someone, I could call at any time and talk about business, because I love business. I have a passion for business and entrepreneurship and growth and ideas. And so I love talking about it, thinking about it, creating, collaborating. And so I had gone down the partnership route a couple times with that in mind, and it didn't work. It never materialized into what I thought. And so I had also given up the idea of partnership because I basically had to rebuild my business twice, because, going down a path and you get distracted. And so when Dave Custom, my current partner, and I started talking about partnership, I was like, nope, not doing it. Been there, done that. But then I was like, I have this thing I've been trying. I would be willing to partner with you on this, and just see. And so basically, this subscription model that I was dabbling with my previous company, that's what we chose to work on while keeping our other businesses. And so I was able to, get firsthand what he was like in a partnership relationship. Yep. Does he do what he says he's going to do? And it was great. It was, amazing. And all of those things I spoke about that I love were present in the partnership relationship, which again, just makes it so much more fun and fulfilling when you have someone that you can talk about, collaborate, share with. And, it comes with its challenges too, because partnership in business is very much like, marriage or, other, and so you deal with that. But that to me is also fun. I mean, I think challenges are opportunities for growth. And so that's kind of how I look at everything. So it's been a very fulfilling experience where I've continued to grow and just continue leveling up my game in order to, support the growth of our business.
I love it. It's fantastic. Again, very similar experience to me. We worked together for maybe 6 to 12 months. Our two teams, they all got along, and we just realized that there was something there, and we could grow it bigger and probably better and faster together than apart. So
Yeah.
we have a question here from Adam. What do you notice most businesses lack content-wise? Great question.
Yeah. I mean, most businesses are really lacking consistent, relevant content. They might, do content, kind of have some stuff on their site, have some social media, but they're not really creating new, fresh content on a consistent basis. And it's sometimes very sales oriented content versus like educational, authentic, real content written for whoever their target audience is, which I think most, no one wants to be sold to. People want some, like, what's in it for me. And so I think a lot of businesses don't write from that perspective, or maybe they try to write too much for search engines versus humans. Granted, it's important that your content be found, but to me, it's just doing the basics. I mean, blog content is as important today, as it was, 10, 15 years ago. I mean, I think what you're doing is great. You're using podcasts as that vehicle, but you're doing it on a consistent basis, which I think you have to figure out what works for you and what you can do consistently. So I really applaud what you guys are doing, because you're creating just such a library of content that, I know is working for you. You wouldn't keep doing it because it takes something to do it. And, every day, every week, every month.
It does. I would agree with that for sure. One of the mistakes that we make, frankly, often here is we'll start like a new content project and we just want to create something, but we don't necessarily understand how it fits in with our strategy, or if it doesn't, or maybe even it conflicts with it, but we just do it. Do you see that a lot?
Yeah. And again, I mean, I always doing something and then adjusting it is better than not doing it at all. But yes, really understanding what is the overall strategy, what are we trying to accomplish, what if we are going to do these, 52, podcasts or blogs or however many you're going to do over a period of time, what kind of, end result are we looking for, and how else all of this going to thread together? So strategy is definitely a key piece that is often missing. But on the flip side, I wouldn't get so caught up in that. I've seen the opposite, where trying so hard to create the right strategy has you stuck not doing it. And sometimes the doing of it, the iterations of it, help you more clearly define what that strategy needs to look like. I mean, I go back sometimes and I look at my early content and it was all over the board, but it was the doing of it that helped get to what the strategy needed to be. So I think there's, kind of a flip side to both ways.
I love what you're saying right now, because, Kevin and I, co-founder, we'll often just start doing stuff, and because we have a passion, we know it needs to get done. We have kind of a general idea, but it's the strategy is not fine-tuned. And then my team will often be like, hey, why are we doing this? Or like, we should change it, or we should do less of it, and I'm fine with that feedback, but it just needs to be tweaked, right? And what I definitely found is that if we don't just start doing it and just make it happen, then yeah, we'll talk about it for weeks or months, to the point where like, we're busy doing other stuff. We're just not going to do that anymore. And so, yeah, you could talk yourself out of it if you try to get it perfect. So I would much rather, just like anything in business, start and iterate. And if you need to make major changes, you make major changes, but usually it's just minor tweaks.
We have a saying internally: make it bad, make it better. And it's just getting something started is often all you need to start creating some momentum.
There you go. We have another comment here. This is back to our partnership discussion. It's called the power, or I call it the power of two: different strengths and weaknesses. It's tough, but without it, it's also tough. And I love Adam's question. Adam, you have a fan. No, that's cool. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, partnerships. Hey, pros and cons, and there's a lot to be learned from them as well. Wow. All right, they're
Absolutely.
rolling in now. Look at here's another one from Mr. Zach Miller of Zach Miller Says. This is somebody I know. I hope he's not setting me up. I felt like yesterday when he posted a question, I wasn't supposed to show it. Let's see. I should
Talking about
pre-read these.
too much content, and is there such a thing as too much content? I think there's too much, pardon my French, shitty content for sure. I think there's not enough high quality content. So I think content that, solves a problem, adds value, makes you smarter, quality content, I don't believe there will ever be too much of, but doing content just for the sake of doing it and, not having quality content. I mean, yeah, there's just way too much of that, which is probably why you're asking the question, because that's what maybe you experience or have experienced. But we all know when we find something, a content resource that is great, like it adds a lot of value and we stick with it. And that to me is always where you have to go back to.
As far as the content that you create, is it mostly the written word?
That is kind of the foundation, but we also do, video content, imagery, but the written word is our bread and butter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you, I actually I guess kind of playing off of Zach's question, I get this one as well. I hear this often, concerns about putting out too much content, in particular, like social media, and not wanting to inundate people or get yourself overexposed. There's lots of different schools of thought on that. One is, you don't want to be seen as, overbearing or get too much exposure. But then the other is, if you don't go out and get the attention, then no one's going to give it to you. So the problem is not overexposure. The problem is obscurity. No one knows who you are. They barely know who you are, especially if you only post, once a week on social media, or, even every couple of days. What are your thoughts kind of like on that balance?
Yeah.
And also, I'm sorry. And also if resources, money weren't an object, what is the perfect optimal amount of content, you think?
Yeah, I don't know that I can answer the perfect optimal amount. I think in the world of content, more is better. And, I wouldn't worry about being overbearing, or I think, again, as long as you're producing quality content, more is better. Our attention spans today are, just getting, shorter and shorter. So as soon as someone sees something of yours, they go on to something else and they've forgotten. So you have to stay out there and you have to, continually be producing great content. And so I think that's just one of those things that people worry about, but unnecessarily. I think, listen, if you've done a lot of content and you're seeing a negative result, then yeah, maybe you need to look at that. But if you're worrying about doing too much content and you haven't done too much content, then do too much content, and get to that point, because again, in the game of content, more is better. And I mean, we have kind of a, if resources are an issue and you just need to start, I mean, at least, one blog, one podcast, a week, and then, social media, I mean, 3 to 5 times a week per channel. I mean, that's kind of a good place to start. But again, something is better than nothing, and making sure that you've got a consistent presence. But then it also I'll just, hammer on, it goes back to quality. Like, are you saying something worthwhile? Are you saying something that others, want to hear?
What do you think stops business owners or business people, or really, I guess, just anybody from putting out a lot of content?
Yeah, it's hard. It's not easy putting out, creating the strategy, creating, posting on a consistent basis. It's really hard. It's so, a lot of a lot of companies just don't put the focus on that. And, I think they might have other things that work for them. So they feel like, well, why do I need that? And I think one of the things we saw earlier this last year, when, the pandemic hit, was a lot of these companies that were relying on other things that worked well for them, trade shows, networking. When that was no longer available, they realized, wow, like I've been neglecting my digital presence for so long. I better invest in that. So I think that that's what gets in the way. It's just priorities. And, again, as business owners, sometimes you just only have, so much focus to put certain places. And, you may just feel like that's not where I want to put my attention until something like a pandemic hits. And you're like, shit, like I'm not showing up anywhere. And I think most companies, most entrepreneurs know how important it is. But again, because it's hard to do on a consistent basis. And then finding if you are going to outsource it, finding a reliable resource, having a long-term focus. The content game is not direct response. It's not let me do this and see the results immediately. You're building an asset. And so you have to have that mindset and understand that that's part of the game. It's not like, let me do this for a couple months, see if it works. And if it does, I'll keep going. It's like, you got to understand content is key. And it's going to be just part of my plan ongoingly.
Yeah. Something you said along the way makes me think, with content, it can be frustrating because it does sometimes require a lot of work, especially like a live like this, or especially a full production video, or a well thought out blog post or piece, and you put it out in the world, and you may not see amazing results, right? It's just you get the views, you get some eyeballs on it, you maybe get some comments, but it's not like this one piece is going to take you from obscurity to everybody knows who you are. So it's very unlikely that it's going to go viral, and so it could seem like a lot of work for not a lot of ROI. But I think what people forget to recognize that it just builds on itself little by little, right? Every layer adds up. Before you know it, you've got a wall.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's like going to the gym. You don't get results in 1 week or 1 month. You got to go consistently, and then you stop going, and you feel that within 1 week or 1 month. So
that's right.
I think it's very similar to that.
All right, we have some more comments and questions here. Adam, do you have a favorite piece of content, type of content, like blogs, video, podcasts?
I mean, I like them all. I'm a big consumer of content. So, I like to read blogs. I get, a few things in my inbox every morning. The Hustle is one of my favorites. But I love videos. I love podcasts. I mean, I'm a consumer of all of it. And I think for me, it's, in terms of creating content, it's, if my company, we create, all of these as well, but it's what's going to work for you to do. And I think for many people, doing, kind of man on the street type videos that then you can repurpose to written content. I mean, again, you guys do a great job of taking these longer, form interviews and then chopping them up. And so, one interview creates, probably 20 pieces, probably more of content for you. So I think thinking about how you can do one thing and then repurpose it into multiple things is a great way to think about content, because at the end of the day, the favorite piece of content for you is going to be what works for you. But I love it all.
Agreed. All right. This is a good question coming up. We're getting a lot of questions today. So I moved from wellness to brain studies and suicide prevention. Not what my 25-year following wants to hear from me. Okay, so this is very pertinent, even here at Array Digital. I'll explain in a second. How do you not lose people while sharing such uncomfortable conversations that you aren't known for? All right, so I think regardless of what topic or kind of theme, or like what you talked about before and now, there's a transition period that's happening here, right? And so like at Array Digital, we have the same exact problem. In the past, we used to work with just about anybody who had money, and now we've focused in on the law firm marketing industry. And so the content that we're creating a lot of the times has to do with lawyers and law firms and things like that. And we're like, should we be putting that out to our normal audience or not?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think, good content finds an audience. What you're saying here is, well, I've got an audience, but now I'm creating a different type of content. So I think being really authentic and communicating with your audience, why has this transition happened, and invite people on your journey, and then be true to that journey and create content that really is authentic about why you're doing this. And those people will either stay with you or they'll opt out, but I don't think you need to worry about it. And I think making people uncomfortable is great. I mean, that's a great type of content. It's evoking emotion, a feeling, and then people have the option, if they want to opt out, they can opt out, but I wouldn't worry about that. So often if we're working with a customer who, this is very common, where they'll have a pretty nice database, but then we'll ask them, well, what's the health of your database? When's the last time you communicated with them? And it might be they haven't done anything in 12 months or more. And so we'll warm that audience up for them. And we tell them, like, you want people to opt out, because if people aren't interested in what you're providing, they're probably not your ideal prospect. So let them opt out. And the more, like, we sent out a newsletter today, like I sometimes get like nasty comments. I like that, because it means I'm evoking something in someone, and you're probably not my audience, because we're very irreverent. We're punchy. If you don't like that, you're not going to like working with us, because we're like that. That's, our content is very representative of our culture. And so our content helps us weed out our audience, and the people that opt out aren't really who we want to reach anyway.
Yeah, I agree. I think you need to take that existing network and you need to say what you're doing now. And it's a way of leveraging that network also, because everybody says your network is your net worth, right? Because you can go to your network and you can tell them what you're up to. Maybe not sell directly to them, but you can at least say, this is what I do now, and it may have changed over time. But even if they're not in the market for that, they should be able to connect you with someone who is in the market for that. And if you don't tell people, if you don't tell your current network what you're up to, then who are you telling? Right. So you have to leverage that network.
Yeah, absolutely. Great question, though.
Excellent question. Yeah, I appreciate that. And then Adam, final thought here: authenticity is key. Yeah, could not agree more. Well, cool, Wendy. That was really, really interesting. I took 3 different areas that I'll probably go back and listen to and try to break those up into individual episodes for upcoming episodes of Journey to $100 Million. So I appreciate your time.
No, I appreciate being here. Thank you.
What is the best way for someone to get in touch with you if they want to reach out or find out more about your offering?
Yes, Wendy at ContentBacon.com. I'm all over social media, but I love having conversations and I love helping and educating. So feel free to reach out to me with any challenge, issue, idea, and I'd love to connect.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, Wendy. All right. Hang on a second. Okay.
Okay.